In today's video, we'll be building a PC worth 30,000 Philippine pesos or 600 US dollars. And that's considering the inflated prices in today's PC market. Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to the channel. My name is Earl and I make videos about tech. Now before we begin, I just want to set your expectations right. This won't be a how to build a PC tutorial. It will be more about me sharing my thought process on picking these parts with respect to the owner's requirements and use cases, and also especially considering the PC market these days that everything is out of stock and everything is just overpriced. So let's begin. Alright, so with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and share the intended use case and the requirements for this build. So first, the budget is more or less 30,000 Philippine pesos. That's around 600 US dollars. Second, this will be a business control center build. So this PC will be mainly working on mid to large size Excel spreadsheets with complex formulas. And while working on that, it might most of the time be streaming multiple feeds of live CCTV footage, and also at the same time having multiple tabs of Chrome open. The PC will also power 3 1080p monitors, and the owner won't be overclocking this thing, won't be upgrading this thing, and won't be doing any gaming really. So it's really more on productivity. And lastly, he doesn't really care about the looks of it. As long as it works and as long as it performs really well for the mentioned use cases, then it's all good. And as long as it's within the budget, considering, the COVID PC market situation. Alright, so the parts. Let's start with the simplest one, the case. So for the case, we have the Transonic Rider RA08A. It comes with 4 RGB rainbow fans, which is good because we don't have to buy any other fans for this case. Honestly, it's not the ideal case because it's a little bigger than what we need. This is a GTX board. We don't have a big graphics card to run, but the shop was giving this for a steep discount, and the owner, as we mentioned earlier, doesn't really care about the looks and the size of it as long as it's got functional ports and it serves its purpose well. So we took the discounted option, and that's the case. If I were to really pick though, I would go for the Cougar MG120 or 130 or the TechWare Nexus M2 or Nexus C. Those options are slightly smaller and I think look better, but it's a little more expensive. So that's the case. Anyway, moving forward, let's go to the motherboard. So we have the Asus Prime A320K right here. Now I understand for this processor, most would go for a B450 chipset motherboard, but as I mentioned, the owner doesn't really want to do any overclocking, not looking forward to upgrades that need multiple M.2 slots or multiple PCIe slots. He also won't be using a lot of peripherals really, maybe a mouse, keyboard, webcam, or external microphone maybe. So even the USB-A port situation in this one is already enough for the use case. Also, this motherboard already has an M.2 SSD slot, and it supports SATA 3 and NVMe SSDs, which is really good. So overall, the Asus Prime A320 has enough port selection, inputs and outputs and slots on the motherboard that suffices the use case of our client. For the processor, what we have here is a Ryzen 5 2600, which is a great bang for the buck processor. This processor has 6 cores, 12 threads, and a base frequency of 3.4 GHz and a max boost of 3.9 GHz that spits out power that is enough for the owner's use case. The multiple cores and threads on the CPU will come in handy in the owner's normal use case, which is streaming multiple streams of live CCTV footage, at the same time working on some heavy Excel spreadsheets with formulas, so the cores and threads can cover that comfortably. And as you guys know, this processor has cooler and pre-applied thermal paste, so that's less things to spend on. So overall, this processor gives us the performance that we need and enough headroom at that while still maintaining our budget. Alright, so for the RAM, we're going with 2 sticks of 8GB of HyperX 3200 MHz. We're running dual channel, of course. For any Ryzen processor, you should be running dual channel to get the most out of your processor. Now 16GB is plenty enough for the owner's use case, like Chrome tabs, Excel, whatever program that is you will be using for the CCTV footage. I think that's plenty enough, and there's plenty of headroom in that use case. Alright, so for the storage, we got 24 gigs of Kingston A400 M.2 SSD. 240 gigs is enough according to the owner. That's what he requested. And he won't be storing any multimedia files on this, so what will reside here will be the OS, the applications, and the spreadsheet files. So it's really important that you put your OS, your applications, and your frequently used files in an SSD, because that will result in a much faster and snappier experience of using your computer, faster boot up speeds, faster opening of applications, faster opening of files. So the SATA 3 M.2 SSD is a good addition to this build that will help make it feel snappier. Also, this is an M.2 drive, so that's less cables to handle versus if you were using a 2.5 form factor SSD that you'd have to cable in. So with this, we're not installing any HDD or any other SATA drives with cables, so it will make the build much more cleaner. Alright, so for the GPU, we have the Asus GTX 1050 Ti 4GB. Now, we don't really need a beefy GPU for this build because, as I mentioned earlier, the owner won't be doing any gaming on this build. Now, what's important for him is for this build to support 3 displays. He currently has two 1080p 75Hz monitor and is looking to buy a third one. For the third one, he's not sure yet what to buy. Now, this GPU gives the owner a headroom to go for a 4K display for the third display he's going to buy soon, and run that simultaneously with the existing two 1080p 75Hz display he has right now. So really, this is an affordable GPU that supports the owner's use case. And as you know, in 2020, 2021, the GPU price situation is not good. Oh, and a small add-on, we have a USB Wi-Fi dongle here from TP-Link. The owner wanted to run Wi-Fi on this build, but as you know, I think the cheapest motherboard with built-in Wi-Fi would be the Aeros B450 Pro Wi-Fi, but that motherboard is more than twice the cost of the Asus Prime A320. So what I did instead was get this TP-Link Archer T3U Plus USB dongle for an easy Wi-Fi solution for this build. What I like about this is that it has an external antenna, which improves gain and range of the Wi-Fi reception. Also, it's dual band, so it supports 2.4 GHz and 5 GHz. So with this cheap addition, we have a Wi-Fi for this build. And latency and stuff, it's not really a big deal because, again, the owner won't be doing any gaming on this one. So I think this will do nicely for this use case. And finally, we have the final piece of the puzzle. We have the PSU. So it's a Silverstone 600 watt A+ PSU. Now I know 600 watts is way above the requirement for these parts, but this was offered at a discount, so budget-wise, we chose this. And there's nothing really wrong about going above the required wattage for your build. Also, it's healthier for the PSU to be not close to its max load all the time, so it's actually a good idea to get a higher wattage PSU, especially if you're getting it at a cheaper price. As long as it's a reliable, high-quality PSU, that's what matters. So I'm finally done talking about the parts and the rationale behind picking these parts. So I'll go ahead and build it and use it for a few days, run some benchmarks, run some real-world tests with Excel, Chrome, whatever, and I'll come back to report those results. See ya!
Alright, benchmark time. Heads up, I did something stupid, my bad. I forgot to copy these screenshots before reformatting and sending the PC to its owner, so I lost my screenshots and data on CPU usage and temperature. But fortunately, I have a recording from the camera, so we still have something to work on, although not as specific. First synthetic benchmark is the Cinebench R23, which the system scored a multi-core score of 7265. Followed by Geekbench with scores of 1015 and 5726 for single core and multi-core respectively. Next, I did this Excel test I found online, links in the description if you're interested to try it out. It's basically a huge spreadsheet with lots of data and formula, makes your PC sorted, and spits out the time your PC took to do the test in seconds. This PC got a score of 68.43 seconds for that test. Next, I did the exact same test, but while playing 6 different YouTube videos set to 1080p in 6 different Chrome windows to simulate what the impact will be like for the real-world usage of this computer. In this round, the PC did the Excel test in 71.68 seconds, which means there's only very little impact on the system under its expected real-world load. Alright guys, so as you've seen on the benchmarks, the PC is really performing great, and I'm confident that it can do all of the owner's requirements and use cases without breaking a sweat. And it has plenty of headroom to be still performant for the years to come. Before we end this video, I just wanted to ask you 2 things. First, what are your thoughts on this build? Second, is this a type of content you'd like to see more on this channel? I really enjoyed making this video. So if you also enjoy watching this video, then we can have more of this video to come. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. That would really mean a lot to me and to the channel. I'm also on Instagram. I post product photography and stuff. If you're into that, you can follow me there. And yeah, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.